Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is going on? My name is Marin TM, and today we're taking a look at the very first duos tournament of this season and what I learned from it. This season is totally different from any other season, so I learned a ton from this tournament. I learned how to play, what to do, what not to do, and ultimately, I just learned more about the meta this season. Before we start, let's shoot for 5,000 likes on today's video, and with that all said, let's get into today's episode. Hopping straight into game number 1, I can already tell you guys that the absolute most important aspect of actually succeeding in this competitive season is your aim. As you all know, pumps are back, as well as the beloved primal shotgun. This leaves little to no room for failure in your aim. What I'm trying to say here is that you need to be consistent. You can't miss a lot of shots, because that will surely cost you heavily in this meta. If you guys are interested in improving your aim drastically, I've actually just recently made a Kovacs video on the topic, and it's one that I would highly recommend everyone to check out. If you don't have Kovacs, you can also check out my aim lab routine video that I made 4 months ago. Aim lab is completely free and a good alternative to Kovacs. Trust me guys, you want to start grinding aim practice this season to ensure the best possible terms of succeeding. After a poor performance in game number 1, only placing 4th, we weren't high up on the leaderboards. After every single game in a tournament, you should look at where you are placed on the leaderboard, because this gives you a very good understanding of how good players you're up against in your next match. And you can also adapt your playstyle around your current placement. Talking about adapting guys, this season you unarguably, or in other words absolutely have to learn to play high ground in competitive, and have good awareness over whether or not you can take high ground. Trust me, if you learn nothing from this video other than the fact that height is tournament winning this season, then that's okay with me. Because even if you've never placed in a tournament before, you can now make it, if you learn to play heights correctly. And this is especially useful in the trios cash cups. Height in cash cups is what is going to make you money, unless you're a top tier low ground or mid ground player. I might make a video on some insanely useful tips and tricks when both taking and holding heights in the near future, if you guys think that sounds useful. But it really all comes down to personal experience and actually trying to take it when practicing. In this tournament, me and Intel kind of failed to take each game as an individual game. What I mean by taking each game as an individual game is simply that you don't think about your last games, how you're doing, or even that you're in a tournament. I like to keep it simple. I like to go into every game thinking we're playing a one-game tournament, where I have to win this one specific game to do well in the tourney. If you look at an entire tournament as a whole, it's easy to get triggered, you lose confidence, and overall it's harder to perform, in my very own opinion. Moving on to game number 4, both me and Intel had impressively bad drops to main in Dirty, and this comes as a result of not landing Dirty a lot. We wanted to land Dirty this tournament because honestly, it's the most broken POI this season, but since we had bad drops, we ended up dying before the game even started. In game number 5, you can tell that my awareness is off. Awareness comes down to always listening for footsteps, always having open eyes and looking for potential threats, and thinking where your opponents might be. As a result of my terrible awareness in game 5, we died early once again. Moving on to the 6th game of this tournament, we really wanted to get some kills. And when fighting in duos, you have to blindly trust your teammates. There can't be a second of hesitation when making plays. And this is one of the many factors that separates good from bad teams and players. Unfortunately, I hesitated for just a brief moment in this game, and it ended up costing us heavily. Game 7 sums up the entire competitive Fortnite experience in Season 6. One thing I'm going to be working extremely hard on this season is consistency in everything I do. Consistency in mechanics, consistency in my aim, and just overall consistency. As you guys clearly can tell, I am nowhere near as consistent as I should be. I miss shots every now and then, my edits are often delayed, and my building just needs a lot of improvement. In order to fix these things, I'm going to be playing a lot of Kovacs and customs, as these are the two aspects of improving that has helped me the most recently. Moving on to game number 9, we had to mentally reset and start taking our fights seriously. We actually played our fights incredibly well together this game and abused items like the gas can a lot. In duos, it's so important to communicate what you're doing, and we also did this very well. What could have been better was the way I supported Intel when fighting, and I could have also used his health bar and the minimap to get better awareness over him during the fight. In this game, I make a very bad call to go for height when we only had around 300 mats each. This call was made in the second moving zone, and a pretty general rule in duos is to have at least 500 mats each when going for height in the second moving zone. What we should have done instead of going for height was played low ground until we got a refresh elimination on a duo, because this is much easier to do on low ground compared to high ground. And don't get me wrong, getting kills on high ground can often be very easy, but getting the loot is much harder than if you're playing low ground. In the final game, we had to W key in order to get our points up, and we still fought relatively well together. What I need to improve on is to always have awareness over intel, especially during fights. This will give me a better understanding of plays I can and cannot go for. Alrighty, so after 10 games of a duo tournament in Season 6, what have I learned? Well, there are a lot of things that can be said about our performance in this tournament. First and foremost, my in-game mechanics are absolutely terrible. Like, bottom of the barrel, bad. In order to improve my in-game mechanics moving forward, I'll play a few hours of Arena every single day, as Arena is good for mechanics practice. But I'll also play the more laggy custom game matchmaking. In addition to that, I'll also practice using the minimap and my teammates' health bar more moving forward in team mode competitions. This is because I can instantly drop my teammates' minis if I see they're on 100 health, and when I use the minimap, I'll know exactly where my teammates are when we are fighting. With that all said, thank you so much for watching. My name is M1K3 Editz. Stay safe and take care.